Judged by the galaxy. The galactic Concord chamber had witnessed the rise and extinction of civilizations older than human history itself. Its vaulted rings of obsidian and light floated above a starless void, each tier occupied by beings who ruled suns, shattered planets, and bent entire species to their will. This was where fate was decided, not by war, but by consensus among the powerful. And today, they were discussing humans. Category C, announced Archivist Zeldar, its many eyes scanning a holographic projection. Physically fragile. Short-lived. No natural weaponry. Limited sensory range. Emotionally volatile. A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. On the projection, a human skeleton rotated slowly. Thin bones, soft joints, no claws, no armor. Compared to the plated titans of the Korth Dominion or the energy-born intelligences of the Virex swarm, humanity looked unfinished. Remarkable they survived their own planet, sneered Lord Karun, his chitinous mandibles clicking. They poisoned their air, heated their seas, and still failed to evolve beyond flesh. They rely on machines to compensate for every weakness, added a crystalline delegate. Pathetic dependency. The archivist continued, indifferent. Despite this, humans achieved faster-than-light travel independently. They unified politically faster than predicted. They avoid expansion wars and favor negotiated borders. That drew laughter. Cowardice, then, Karun said. They lack the will to dominate. At the center of the chamber stood a lone figure, small, upright, wrapped in simple dark fabric. No exoskeleton. No energy field. Just a human ambassador, hands folded behind his back, face unreadable. Ambassador Elias Rourke waited until the noise faded. We prefer the word restraint, he said calmly. Several delegates turned their sensory arrays toward him, curious more than threatened. Humans always spoke softly, always asked for treaties, always backed down from provocation. The Concord had learned to ignore warnings spoken without force. You avoid war because you cannot win it, Karun replied. Your fleets are modest. Your weapons conventional. You do not even weaponize stars. We choose not to, Rourke said. Choice implies ability, another voice echoed. Prove it. Rourke met their gaze, one by one. Humanity asks for no territory beyond what we inhabit. No tribute. No obedience. Only this, leave our borders untouched. The archivist recorded the statement, tagging it as non-binding appeal. The vote followed swiftly. By unanimous decision, humanity was designated non-threat species. The chamber moved on. 3 standard cycles later, the Relkar coalition crossed into human frontier space. It was a small incursion by galactic standards, 6 war fleets, 30,000 soldiers, enough to erase a minor civilization. The target was EOS-17, a human agricultural colony orbiting a yellow star at the edge of mapped space. The Concord watched with detached interest. Observe, Karun said. They will protest. Then retreat. But something unexpected happened. Human ships did not rally to defend EOS-17. No desperate counterattack came. No plea for intervention echoed through the Concord's channels. Instead, the colony went quiet. Cities powered down in perfect sequence. Orbital stations disengaged and vanished into jump space. Even communication beacons shut off, one by one, until EOS-17 was nothing more than a silent world. Evacuation, the archivist noted. Complete. 0 casualties. Laughter returned. They fled, someone said. As predicted. The Relkar forces occupied the empty colony with ease, planting their banners in deserted streets. They broadcast images of their conquest across the Concord, proof of human weakness. And yet, something unsettled the observers. The evacuation had been too clean. Too fast. No panic. No resistance. No mistakes. As the Concord celebrated the confirmation of its judgment, a message arrived, not to the chamber, but deep within human space. It reached places no alien map had ever marked. Beneath dead stars and inside folded dimensions, systems long dormant stirred. A human general stood alone in a darkened command vault as ancient screens flickered to life around him. Symbols older than the Concord itself glowed crimson. He read the single line of authorization that had not been issued in centuries. The species that waited. Humanity did not panic. That fact alone would have stunned the Galactic Concord if they had been able to see past their assumptions. Panic was expected from a species so frequently described as emotional, reactive, unstable. Yet across human space, the response to the loss of EOS-17 was not chaos, but silence. A deliberate silence. In the depths of Sol Command, far from civilian worlds, the Black Dawn vaults finished opening for the first time in generations. Ancient locks disengaged with sounds like grinding continents. Lights ignited along corridors carved from neutronium-reinforced alloys, materials outlawed by interstellar convention because no one else could shape them safely. Human hands had shaped them anyway. Admiral Cale Morrison stood at the center of the vault, surrounded by officers whose names did not exist in public records. Their uniforms bore no insignia, only a single mark etched at the collar, a closed eye. "Status," Morrison said. "Colony loss confirmed," replied Director Chen. "Evacuation executed flawlessly. No civilian casualties." Morrison nodded once. That had never been in doubt. "Relkar occupation forces remain planetside," Chen continued. "They believe the system secure." A thin, humorless smile crossed the Admiral's face. "They always do." The galaxy remembered humanity as a species that had stumbled its way into the stars, loud, divided, and reckless. What it forgot was why humans had changed. Centuries earlier, before the Concord ever noticed them, humanity had nearly erased itself. The first expansion wars had been short and catastrophic. Competing human factions had weaponized everything they could reach: moons, atmospheres, even the fabric of space itself. Victory had become meaningless when entire star systems were left uninhabitable. Humanity survived that era by learning a truth most species never did. Unchecked power destroys its wielder first. From that lesson came the doctrine of delay. Never escalate first. Never reveal full capability. Never allow the galaxy to see what you are truly capable of. Unless extinction is on the table. The Concord had mistaken that philosophy for fear. "Empire protocols are at 70% review," Chen said. "Awaiting your authorization." Morrison turned toward a holographic display. It showed not fleets or weapons, but timelines stretching centuries into the past. Each marked with silent preparations. Hidden shipyards drifting in the gravitational shadows of dead stars. Fleets folded into pockets of compressed space, invisible to standard sensors. Artificial intelligences bound by laws stricter than any alien ethic code, minds designed not to conquer, but to end wars quickly. "These systems were never meant to be used," one officer said quietly. "No," Morrison replied. "They were meant to exist." He gestured, and the display shifted. Across human territory, civilian infrastructure began subtle transformations. Mining platforms adjusted output ratios. Freight routes rerouted themselves. Manufacturing hubs received encrypted instructions and complied without question. Human society did not fracture under pressure. It aligned. Far from Sol, beneath the event horizon of a collapsed star, something massive stirred. The Aegis vault unlocked. Ships larger than cities disengaged from their holding frames, hulls absorbing and releasing energy in ways no alien physics model could describe. Their weapons remained dormant, their crews still in cryogenic suspension. They had been waiting for a signal that had not been sent in over 400 years. In another hidden system, an intelligence designated Athena Prime finished running probability trees that spanned the entire known galaxy. Outcome projections converged. Containment without annihilation was possible. The conditions were acceptable. Back in the Concord, the Relkar ambassador basked in approval. Their minor conquest had elevated their status. Humans, it seemed, had proven exactly what the galaxy believed them to be: weak, predictable, harmless. On EOS-17, Relkar troops marched through abandoned cities, laughing as they looted homes left perfectly intact. No traps. No resistance. No signs of desperation. One commander frowned. "It feels wrong," he muttered. "Humans ran," his subordinate replied. "That is all." The commander looked up at the empty sky, unsettled by how quiet the planet was. In Sol Command, Admiral Morrison finally spoke the words that changed everything. Authorize Phase 1. Chen hesitated only a fraction of a second. Once begun, there is no returning to invisibility. Morrison's gaze hardened. They crossed the line we warned them about. Chen nodded and entered the command. Across human space, systems long silent came alive. Sleeper fleets received activation codes. War minds synchronized. Ancient engines began spinning up, bending space around them like water around a blade. Morrison watched the status lights shift from amber to red. "We waited," he said softly. "We warned them." He straightened, voice steady, absolute. "Now let the galaxy learn why." When the Empire awoke, the first sign that something had gone terribly wrong was not an explosion. It was silence. Across Relcar-controlled space, long-range sensors flickered, recalibrated, and then reported nothing at all. No background radiation, no stellar noise, no quantum static. It was as if entire regions of the galaxy had been erased from reality. Relcar commanders shouted for diagnostics. Then space folded. Human warships emerged without jump signatures, without warning flares, without violating any known threshold, because they were not crossing space. They were unfolding within it. The fleets were vast, geometrically impossible structures that defied the aesthetic logic of alien engineering. No exposed weapons. No glowing power cores. Just smooth, matte hulls that drank in light and gave nothing back. Panic spread. "Identify," a Relcar admiral demanded. The response came not as a threat, but as a statement, broadcast simultaneously across every military channel in the sector. "This system is now under human protectorate control. Stand down." The Relcar opened fire. Their weapons struck nothing. Human ships did not dodge. They did not block. The energy simply failed. Beams bent away, probability collapsing inward, as if the universe itself refused to allow contact. Then the humans responded. They did not target ships. They targeted capability. Command vessels lost power as localized constants shifted, reactors refusing to sustain fusion. Weapons arrays became inert lumps of metal. Navigation systems forgot where up was. Entire fleets drifted, intact but helpless. Across 6 systems, the same pattern repeated with terrifying precision. No casualties. No escape. On EOS 17, the Relcar occupation force watched in horror as the sky fractured. A single human vessel descended, not through atmosphere, but by displacing it. The air rippled, parted, and resealed behind it. The ship hovered silently above the capital city, casting no shadow. A message echoed across every surface, every implant, every communicator. "You are trespassing on protected territory. Lay down your arms." The Relcar commander fell to his knees. "This is impossible," he whispered. Human soldiers arrived moments later, armored figures moving with deliberate calm. Their weapons remained lowered. There was no rage in them. Only certainty. The galactic concord erupted into chaos. Reports flooded the chamber, systems falling without battle, fleets neutralized in minutes, entire sectors rendered inert by an unknown force. Species that had ruled for millennia demanded answers that did not exist. "How is this possible?" shrieked one delegate. "Humans are Tier C." Archivist Zeldar's voice trembled as it spoke. "Reclassification. Impossible. Their capabilities exceed all recorded limits." A new signal cut through the noise. Human. The ambassador was no longer standing in the chamber. He was everywhere. His image filled the void, projected with a clarity that bypassed Concord security entirely. Ambassador Elias Rourke's expression was calm, almost regretful. "We warned you," he said. "You were judged non-threatening," Karun hissed. "You deceived us." Rourke shook his head. "No. You assumed." The display shifted. Images of human fleets holding position, of alien armadas frozen in space, of planets spared even as their war industries shut down. No burning worlds. No genocide. No terror campaigns. Just control. "You believe power must be displayed to exist," Rourke continued. "We learned long ago that true power is the ability not to use it." Karun recoiled. "What do you want?" Rourke's eyes hardened. "For this to stop." In a secured chamber beneath Sol Command, Athena Prime finalized its recommendation. Galactic conflict status, contained. Projected escalation, 0% if compliance achieved. Authorization passed through human command structures in milliseconds. Across the galaxy, human fleets halted simultaneously. Weapons powered down. The message was unmistakable. This was not conquest. It was enforcement. A captured Relkar admiral sat in a human holding facility, staring at the being across from him. "You could destroy us," he said quietly. "Why haven't you?" The human officer regarded him evenly. "Because destruction teaches nothing." "Then what are you?" the admiral asked. The answer came without hesitation. "We are the species that survives." As quickly as they had appeared, some human fleets withdrew, slipping back into folded space, vanishing beyond detection. Others remained, silent sentinels over key systems. The galaxy reeled. Empires older than human civilization realized the truth too late. Humans had never been weak. They had been patient. And now, the Empire was awake. The Empire that chose mercy. The war ended without a final battle. That fact alone reshaped galactic history. Across once hostile sectors, human fleets held position, not as conquerors, but as immovable constants. Trade routes reopened under human arbitration. Communications stabilized. Weapons factories went dark, their machinery rendered permanently inert by subtle shifts in physical law that only human engineers could reverse. The Galactic Concord still existed in name. In truth, it no longer ruled. In the Concord chamber, the surviving delegates gathered beneath dimmed lights. The seats once filled by proud warlords and ancient tyrants stood empty, not destroyed, but irrelevant. They had withdrawn, unwilling to face the species they had so casually dismissed. Archivist Zelvar addressed the assembly, its voice stripped of certainty. "We must acknowledge reality. Humanity now holds decisive strategic control over galactic conflict." The word control echoed painfully. Lord Karoon's mandibles trembled. "Then this is an empire." A human voice answered, not projected, not amplified. Simply present. "No," said Elias Rourke, standing among them. "This is an intervention." All eyes turned. "You came to rule us," Karoon accused. Rourke shook his head. "If we wanted that, this chamber would be gone." Silence followed. "You mistake us," Rourke continued, "for what you would be, if given our power." Across the galaxy, terms were delivered. Not demands. Conditions. No expansion wars. No planetary annihilation weapons. No forced subjugation of developing species. In exchange, humanity offered something unprecedented. Stability. Human fleets would police interstellar law. Human AIS would monitor treaty violations impartially. Disputes would be settled before they reached the threshold of war. Empires balked. Then they looked at their disabled armadas. And they signed. On EOS 17, human settlers returned. The colony had not been damaged. Fields were intact. Homes untouched. Even the Relkar banners had been removed, not burned, not destroyed, but carefully folded and placed in storage. The Relkar soldiers were gone. Repatriated. Alive. A child stepped out onto the soil, staring up at a human ship hovering overhead. It did not frighten her. It felt protective. Above the planet, a single human vessel remained, silent and watchful. In human space, there was no celebration. No victory parades. No declarations of supremacy. The Empire was not a flag or a throne. It was a contingency, one humanity hoped would never be needed again. Admiral Morrison stood before the Black Dawn console as systems began powering down. "Status?" he asked. "Compliance across 98% of known space," Chen replied. "The remaining systems are reconsidering." "They will," Morrison said. "Eventually." "And the fleets?" "Return them to shadow," Morrison ordered. "Let the galaxy breathe." Centuries later, historians would struggle to name the era. Some called it the Awakening. Others, the Long Peace. Among the stars, a simpler phrase endured. The day the galaxy learned the difference between mercy and weakness. In the final address ever broadcast by the Empire, humanity spoke not with triumph, but with warning. You mistook mercy for weakness. You mistook silence for fear. The Empire did not rise to rule you. It rose because you left us no choice. Remember this. Power restrained is the greatest power of all. The transmission ended. Human fleets faded back into obscurity. Systems unlocked. Trade resumed. Life continued. But the galaxy never forgot. Because every civilization, from that day forward, knew the truth. Humans did not seek an empire. They were the empire. Sleeping, watching, and patient enough to wait forever.